Imaginez la forme de la boîte crânienne, son épaisseur, sa dureté. Comparez le plan mental à une scène de théâtre sur laquelle évoluent des personnages. Ce sont les images, les pensées, les pensées, les pensées. Ordonnez à ces acteurs de...
I know it's late, and hopefully you will hope I've understood something about myself, I think, from this project. So I'm hoping that, it being late is part of the growth. Like this is probably the 100th, no, not that much, but like about the 50th, like iteration of my introduction. And I think this one is just going to be honest and it's going to be authentic and it's kind of scripted so I can stay on track because I am committed to handing something in to you tomorrow, whatever it is, and I don't really know what it is. I have hours of video and photos and audio clips, and I have numerous art pieces that I have made, all kind of in, I don't know, I had different titles for this. It's a bit of an experiment art project, possibly even like a, I don't know, documentary. I'm not sure what this is going to be. It's definitely not the project you were probably expecting. But when you say that you can find a creative way to do a final paper, I really think in the future you should have a caveat that says, like, if you're truly doing a creative project, it's pretty dangerous because it can get away from you. And that's kind of what happened. And so in terms of like what is I'm going to be doing, I'm basically going through an artistic or creative process to discuss like what I learned about ethics and in our ethics class, and also like about myself and the program, coming into the new realm of being a counselor. So to keep me grounded, I keep glancing down because I have like it's not a script so much as an outline, but I am going to plow through, and I'm not sure what we're going to end up with, like I said. But it's dangerous when you let someone who's creative have no solid plan because it can get away with, like I said. And I know the values conflict discussion that we had, it was a really great discussion. I kind of loved it. I again had a really hard time deciding on like everyone's decided to mow their lawn at the same time, but I was having a really hard time deciding what specifically would be my conflict or my values conflict. But I think one of the conflicts that myself personally I will come across in terms of ethics is going to be my propensity towards the freeze response. If I don't know the answer, or if I sometimes have an ability to be pretty indecisive. If I know what to do, I can do it and I can make a decision. But in terms of a dilemma, I would really have a hard time. And I think I learned a lot about that, the process that I'll have to go through to do that in making this project, because right now I just have to plow through. I have tons of video and stuff to go through, but I'm just going to do it in order and do video updates along the way, and we'll pull it together and see what we get in the end. So thank you. Yeah, I'm going to pause now and get back inside, and or maybe sit here just and go through videos and edit.
Ordonnez à ces acteurs de se retirer.
This was scene 1.
Et conservez une seule image. Installez-vous dans cette pensée, et de ce moment, vous cessez de faire. commencer à être les pensées.
This is supposed to be a reflection, which to me means you go deep, like really deep. And I do feel like I kind of have with this project. Um, and I think it's because I've gone deeper than probably necessary, like too deep, where I like needed to resurface a few times and haven't quite been able to. But anyway, it's just because I think this is like it's a pretty pivotal moment in my life, actually, Jen. To be honest with you, Oof. Um, yeah, I am like when we started this course, I was like, whew, stressed to the nines, finishing both courses and report cards and all of that stuff. But I also like, I think in the like in my mind, like this was my last year of teaching, possibly ever, right? And I have every year for the last 17 years, I've had about 60 grade six, I think the grade, what, 10, 11, 12, that age. Yeah, they've been my homeroom, and I don't know, I teach reading and writing, and I love it. And being like grade six, it's just a pretty interesting time. They're just spring middle school, so I've loved it. And then I get to teach art to like the whole school, which has been like, who gets to do that? That's like a pretty sweet gig, and I get to do it with like I love the people I work with, like, I really do, and so yeah, it's huge to be saying goodbye to that, and I think that I feel very safe and loved, and it was why I was there for so long. But I also think that I've started to absorb the feedback that you get from people, and not just yeah, just it's developed a confidence. It was the confidence I think that got me to do this program. Um, so I think it's been like I'm kind of like in that like, well, not to get all metaphoric metaphorical, but it has been like a metamorphosis. Like I'm changing from one version of myself into something different, and I think it's a little bit. Well, it feels good. Like it feels like the right path, and so yeah, I'm feeling energized and light, but I am getting to know myself again. Because yeah, it took a bit of a leap of faith. I wanted to do the counseling program for my since I graduated from teaching, because I didn't want to be a teacher. I felt like it would be too restrictive, and so kind of going into this next. Well, I just want to tell you this kind of when you said we could do a creative project in class, I was thinking, yeah, I'll do a video or I'll do another presentation, and I was kind of, I think I was riding high off of working on the ethical dilemma, and I really liked the aesthetic of that. That's kind of my wheelhouse. So, and I think I'm ashamed to tell you this little story, but here it goes. In class, when you said, it could take any form, you must have given some examples, but Erin turned to me. I think she knew I would do a video or something, and she said, "I bet Christine is going to do a painting." And instead of saying like, "Yep, probably she's going to do a painting," I said literally, like, "Game on!" Like what? Like, okay, so who says that? I did, but like for. Of the last 17 years, the last 10 of them, I have been like creatively stifled, I think. Like really, it has not been good for my, for part of my spirit, I guess. Because being the art teacher feels very constrictive. Like I'm supposed to be this authority, or super talented. So, it's just not how I felt, and I'm going to let myself explain it a little bit better than I am right now. So, yeah. So I said in class, I'm going to do a picture. I don't know how to do a picture. And it sounds crazy to me. And the reason why is because I have been an art teacher for 10 years. So the last 10 years. And I think that being an art teacher had put, was very damaging to my own creativity. Kind of pigeonholed me into this, I'm some sort of art authority that I did not feel like I should, or yeah, imposter syndrome is what I would call that. Anyway, so I do love drawing and painting, and I don't want you to think I was like, I don't know, selling myself as that. I love being an art teacher. I think it's amazing, and I see so many kids, like all of them, are like potentially more talented than I ever am, and I just want, yeah. I refused to try things because I didn't want other people to judge me. Not that I was like, I feel like I'm a judge of others, if that makes sense. Okay, so I think that yeah. Okay, mumbling, and I'm gonna cut this.
Get ready, you gotta move. You gotta move. You gotta move, child. You got to move. You may be high. You may be low. You may be rich, child. You may be poor. You gotta move. You gotta move.
All right, it is scene 3. And this one is all about the experiments. So, like all great experiments, start with a question. And so, my big question was, why did I react so intensely and so much energy when I was presented with creating an art piece for this class? And like, was that like just some sort of crazy negativity inside of me that like resents like really talented um I don't know, talented people like Christine, for example, or was this something else? And I think like my hypothesis is that it is something else. I think that this is more about me having to accept just yeah, owning who I am and accepting challenging myself to make sure that I feel that I am up for the challenge, right? Of making ethical decisions. And so that's sort of the questions and the hypothesis. So materials, lucky, I have tons of new materials because I brought home all the stuff that I kind of bought that, I only have like, didn't have enough for a full class or something like that, or things that I bought myself. And yeah, so I have an abundance of art materials, but also I'm going to use one of the creative process models. So there's people try to mold it into something, and James Webb Young is someone, he came up with like a 5-step technique, but he defined the creative process as like the act of creating new connections just from like old existing concepts, or from like the things that are around you. So it's like not always having to come up with a brand new thing, but it's about connecting ideas from what is already available to you. So in this case, I'm going to be connecting the ideas from our class, from the CCPA's Code of Ethics, and yeah, their class, and the learning process. And I'm going to try to create a connection between those in a visual representation. And so the stages that the James Webb Young uses would be first one is preparation, second is incubation. I'm good at that one, like letting things percolate in there, and the next one would be illumination. That's when you kind of have like that aha moment and you kind of have like that inspiration. But then the next stage is evaluation, where you kind of look at something and decide if it's working or not. And then last but not least, it goes into like either you can call it um, implementation, but really it's the product. It's like your end result, the presentation. So the process isn't always linear, but I mean, it does kind of go usually in a progressive way. But what happens is you can get stuck at any um, one of those stages, and that being stuck can sometimes like push you back to the beginning of the
You may be low,
you stop there.
you may be rich, child, you may be poor. You gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move, child, you gotta move. You may be high, you may be low, you may be rich, child, you may be poor.
You know what I'm saying?
Respirez profondément.
Hi, Jen. Scene 4. It's looking at the observations and the just sort of like the what happened during your experiment. So just gonna kind of go through my whole process, what I did, coming up with my final art piece. So the first thing I was thinking about was like the background, and I think in the beginning, like that first day, I think one of the words that everyone just kept saying was like gray areas, gray areas, gray areas. So I really had it in my head, that there was, I would, literally do gray. So I did a picture kind of playing around with gray, but this one, it was just kind of, that's the sky there. But I didn't really. I was just kind of seeing what kind of colors I liked. Didn't like it at all. It was like pencil crayons. They were like watercolor pencil crayons. They weren't very good. Anyway, so I also think though, like when I was thinking of gray, I was thinking like a gray sky just doesn't have any definition, and I think kind of this aesthetics course, I mean, there's definitely definitions, like the principles of the CCPA, the benevolence and I can never say that one right, but I mean, they are clearly defined. And then you have the articles that I don't really think it's necessarily gray. I think they're pretty clear. I think that it is in the application, right? That the gray and the shadows kind of come out. But I think that there is a lot more definition. So I also think that, possibly moving away from that gray idea. So then, like, I didn't like the gray. So I think my next thought was, I have to get specifics, like you asked for, possibly taking notes or using your notes every day. So I thought of like finding ways to incorporate some of the notes into possibly like a design. So I kind of came up with something like that, which was, and I was thinking I could do that on a larger scale. And then what I could do is kind of paint it maybe in gray or whatever I decided afterwards. But when I do remember, not that I don't remember any of it, like I remember we had great conversations about boundaries and about consent and confidentiality. And, I was thinking I had boundaries and barriers, but also with like blinders as well. Like it's, yeah. Anyway, I mean, I got a lot, so much out of classes, but I don't really think you need me necessarily to like write them out. And then I guess my other thought was like it's a pretty literal take on it. And what it's going to do, like a new picture for every class? Like, I don't know. How was I going to string that together? So aesthetically, like I kind of like it for maybe some pictures down the road, but I definitely didn't like it for the idea of this art piece. And I also think then I thought, well, I could just kind of weave in and out like the different articles. So like I'll show you what I did here. I don't know if you can sort of see it. It says like this is an article, and I could kind of I don't know. I was gonna kind of write the sort of title of the article and then think of like a I don't know what I was gonna do. I was just sort of thinking along the lines. Again, it was really really literal, and I just I didn't think that that was going to be very helpful or the right way to go. So I kind of got off that literal track. And I think I got off of it. I think I was down that road because when I started ethics, I was coming right off of research methods, and it was dry and hard. And I think I thought ethics was going to be similar. I thought it was going to be like I had to memorize like all of the code, and that there would be like like a test or an exam, almost like the RCMP, like psychological testing. Like you give us a whole bunch of I don't know, questions that we had to answer perfectly, and I didn't think you were going to be teaching it, so that is actually what made it like I was heightened. I was excited, but it was not a class that I thought I would really like. But I think the more we got into it, the more I really enjoyed the class. And what I think came out of it is like as we shared and talked about things, like it's a community of great people, right? That have like most, I think everyone has this. It's a safe space for everyone to have an opinion, and it was beautiful to sort of see all of the different perspectives that people have and ways they can look at things. And so that kind of sent me in the direction of like wanting the color. I wanted the sky to be sort of colorful and bright, and I kind of got interested in sort of stains. So I have one here. This one. Yeah, I like sort of the stains of this one. I was playing around with those, and I was like, okay, I want to have really bright, vibrant colors. And so I wanted that, but at the same time, a couple of other things kind of happened simultaneously, or maybe not simultaneously. But what happened was once I kind of decided I wanted a bright, nice sky, I got really hung up on okay. So yeah, like I was saying, I was talking about this idea of reflections, and so like I did like this one, and I kind of liked it. What I did for this one, I got into the idea of like folding it in half so that you could get like a perfect mirror image. And then I tried like this one, which is the one I really like. This is the one that I was gonna kind of go with, and like one of my very first ones was, well, this is the one I also really like. I kind of loved how this turned out. But so this one was when I was kind of toying around with the idea, and obviously I was right off the hub of the of my my paper there, and the idea that humility and honesty, I just kind of going back to that idea of having personal interests that are or ambitions that are ahead of the choices you might make, or that are somehow guiding the choices you might make. I think when I was looking at that ethical decision making, or the ethical dilemma project, I think that's what really kind of rocked me, was when I had the humility to sort of say, oh no, my thing's running out. I think I'm having camera issues. Okay, so just kind of going back to this big thing about reflection, and I mean, obviously this is a reflective piece, but I got really stuck, or we were talking about all these gray areas, and I thought, like, when Sandy came on that Friday, she was going to have all sorts of answers, and I don't feel like she did necessarily, but she did, in a way. She had sort of a seasoned educator's like lovely person, and very much like she knows the system really, really well. And so I just I think that that's going to be a really interesting part to navigate, and I think therein lies some of those the ethical dilemmas that I think we're going to face. And I think, like, Chelsea's dilemma, which, like, think the world is a better place, right? I mean, that is just a mark of a great human, but it's also um, the mark of a mover and a shaker, and that's someone who has influence within our district. And for some people, I think that becomes a huge part of things. So that being said, yeah, this idea of reflection was really, really important. And I'm gonna pause. Okay, we're trying it again. So um, I was talking about the humility, honesty thing. So it was when I realized that some of the choices that would possibly be made were in the best interest of the counselor, in terms of um, possibly, I don't want to say overstepping, but I think that the fear of the family, and also wanting to make sure all your bases were covered, was a little um, a part of what might make the decision go another way, right? But when you really looked at um, the best interest of that person, um, then um, yeah, you had to be able to look at it kind of very humbly, like, oh, I am bringing, yeah, this to the table. So anyway, I think that is at the crux of um, or one of the major things about using that the wise eyed lens, or I mean, it really is like the two eyed seeing sort of model. Um, I and I guess, I mean, did use some of the ideas behind the seven sacred teachings, but again, I think that um, if you can look at yourself with great honesty, and you're willing to be uh, and humility to be wrong, or to own um, the the negative things, or the parts that might influence you, then that is where I think you're kind of standing on that edge, where you can make that decision, where you know that your humility and your honesty are both, being reflected in your response. So that is a big part of the reflection theme. So um, the next thing, I guess, would be, of course, like that one of those first ones. This was, I was thinking of doing like night and day, but then that was, that was kind of too, I don't know, tacky. But I think the next thing that what happened was, I did get all set up, and I had like my final vision ready to go. I was about 5 days ago, 6 days ago, and I started painting it, and I had decided on yeah, sort of like that same kind of wash. And then two things happened. So when you saw me do that initial one of this initial piece, um, I had sort of a cutout, and I wanted to make sure that this was the area that we were going to focus on, and the shape of it is with intention. But what I noticed, so a couple of things I noticed was like the sun. I didn't like that it was off balance. So I started then think about the sun sort of being that guiding light, that kind of the the perspective, and having it at both ends. But you can't have a reflection or an honest reflection if you are off center, right? Like it's because whatever direction you're sort of leaning is going to create shadows, and it's going to influence the ripples or the reflection. So what I mean by that is that it was really important for me to move the sun. That really, really, really got me upset when I started thinking about it. And then also, I kind of got into it, and I was going to do like this type of watercolor painting and stuff, but I'm not a watercolor painter. Like, what was I thinking? So I really hummed and hawed and felt lost for a little bit. And then I just decided to restart. So I did completely restart, and I think I'll show you like small little bits of it. So my favorite part is the sun. So you can see that the sun and the sun are both they are reflected, but they are they're coming from the center, and sort of casting their light down, but also kind of with a casting it up as well. And of course, I have my. I decided, why pretend to be a type of artist you're not? I love making little animals. I love animals. I'm kind of it's my thing. So I tried to design it to, if you don't see it, don't worry, it is a little camouflage, but it is supposed to say humble, humility, HUM, my first little squirrels, and then this little eye with the dot on it with my cardinals, and then that's an L. This is another I, T, and a Y. And so, yeah, they're kind of hidden in there, but not. And then it's they are just sort of. I think most animals don't bring anything to the table, right? And so, yeah. Anyway, there's the honesty reflected back in it. So ultimately, this is my project. Maybe what I'll do is I'll roll it up, Jen, and give it to you at some point in time. You would love to know that my first thought when I was going to do this was that I'll just do a picture, and then I'll show up, and she'll want to talk to me for an hour about it, and la-di-da, that'll be that. Like, I'm sorry, I was so presumptuous. Anyway, so I realized I couldn't do that, so then the whole thing got away from me. Just trying to think. I know that there's more, but I'm tired, and I have loved this project. And I think that in terms of an experiment, though, I would say that the artistic approach to problem solving is a problem in and of itself. The people that would gravitate towards it should steer away. And again, that brings me back to, in all humility, I do know that there are some things that, yeah, I'm going to struggle with. But a huge takeaway was that you need to reach out and have people to support you. And I think, I have such a great network of people, but like our cohort is fantastic. And they each bring such strengths to the table. For example, like even myself, like I have, one of my very good friends. Robin came over during the process. There's the incubation phase where you kind of just need to kind of sit and have someone else, or just kind of take your mind off of it and let the things sort of percolate. So she came over and lent me her iPad, and came up with a whole bunch of ideas of how I could film this. And yeah, like just knowing who to reach out to. I imagine maybe sometime I might be reaching out to you. But in terms of a project, yeah, I think that the experiment was not a huge success, but I do hope that you will humbly accept this paper. I will put the final editing touches, and I have like a little, like I said, I had 100 different clips, so I have one that's to say goodbye. But thank you. I do recognize that I am late with this project, and that that's on me. I chose this route knowing sometimes things get away from me. I did have the best intentions, and I also know that your time is extraordinarily valuable. And if this was an inconvenience, I heartfelt sorry, and I understand if and if you need me to do something else in terms of work to show you yeah, my reflection, then please, by all means. I do really, I do think I'm going to be a good counselor. I think I'm going to be, I think I really want to. And I really wanted to do this project though, right? So, anyway, I'm disappointed in myself, but I got it done, and I enjoyed the project. So, anyway,